So you
Damn
are.
it, man.
I respond to what you're saying. You know, I mean
Fair,
that's my
fair,
job.
fair. Okay. How to quickly check that this is working fine. Yeah, it's working fine. Okay, and the last thing we have is restream check. We're all checking shit. We're
Why
almost
are you
done.
talking like a robot?
Huh?
Why are you speaking like a robot?
I don't know.
Be the person
This is my
you are
professional. being
That's
my-
not professional.
Okay, so going live with the camera on 3, 2, 1, go. Hello, people. Holy shit. We have a show today, and this is Mr. Mo. He's a resident of Bangkok, Thailand, and we have a fantastic conversation about to happen. Just a basic introduction about the podcast topic. We're talking about the war. We're talking about the war in Ukraine, and we're talking about how all wars should be talked about equally.
You when we were talking about war in German.
Exactly, yes. And we're talking talking about how the media needs to equalize every single thing that they talk about, but they don't. Wars for different kinds of people. We all know what the shit we're talking about over here, but eventually we'll get into the cusp of it, and hopefully we will not get cancelled by the end of this conversation.
I'm Palestinian. I don't really care.
Fair enough. So
That's your problem.
So here we have Mo. He is Palestinian and he's been a resident of Bangkok. He's been a friend of mine for quite a while. So thank you, Mr. Mo, for coming in.
You're welcome.
And I would like him to actually talk about who he is, introduce himself into the podcast to the people watching. So Mo, go crazy. Who are you?
You sure about that?
Yes.
So, I'm Mo. My name is Mo Barber. I'm Palestinian. I was born as a refugee in Syria in 1993, so I think I'm 29 years old now. So I've been in Thailand since 2003. It's a little complicated to talk about it, but let's say I've been here for a while with no other place to go since I'm Palestinian. And yeah, I've been here for 9 years now, living here, seeing the community. Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. Thank you so much for the introduction of yourself. So humanity is at stake, basically, right? And it has been a problem for the longest time. So we always consider that, hey, these kind of people should be respected. These kind of people should not be respected.
You mean racism, not humanity.
Sure. I mean, I think humanity becomes at stake due to racism as well. So due to different things, right?
To be honest, for me, the word humanity is a concept. People use it just to get what they want or to put in the angle they want. You know what I mean? So, for example, they use humanity when they're trying to kill a lobster. They would say kill it in the most human way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
is there a humane way of killing a lobster?
there is no human way to be a human. To be honest,
That is true.
you know, we are monsters in the end. We are just like any other animal.
Yeah.
So
True.
it's a word. The word was invented just like to make ourselves look better.
Yeah.
Simply. Yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you. This podcast. This podcast is obviously not to undermine, the current war in Ukraine. You and I both agree on that.
Of course, yeah.
There's no reason to not support, people who are suffering, but it brings to light the fact, based on the reports we've been watching in the past 20 something days.
It's been since 24th, so it's 19 days. Already,
19 days, and we've been watching news channels and media personalities talk about, oh my God, what is happening in Ukraine. This is just really crazy. And while they're doing this, they're actually dissing and undermining what's happening in other parts of the world where other people are,
True.
you know, in war. And yeah, it just basically sucks. But yeah, let's talk about it from another angle, because this is what this podcast is about, talking about it from your angle, because obviously you have been through hell and back. Your family has been as well, and I would like to actually hear it from you. A lot of things that you say I will probably not have knowledge of, and that's okay. I'm here to learn. We all are. Like, you might understand how to do a podcast after this.
Oh wow, that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity.
So
thank you for that.
you are welcome, sir. But yeah, so I want to start with the example of how news media compared different types of conflicts. Can you talk about that? Remember that reporter talking about?
Okay, can we hold back first of all to
Sure.
talk about the Ukraine situation?
Sure.
Because I think it's really important as Palestinian for me to acknowledge what's happening and talk about what's happening.
Please.
Like Ukraine is going through hell. Like it's been 12 days. Like suddenly the people in Ukraine. Ukraine is one of the most peaceful countries in the world, by the way. They never had a problem with any other country, by the way. That's what I learned from that. Like after I was checking, they never been since they become an independent country. They never been in conflict with any other country. So suddenly these people they found a giant army at like invading them. You know, they were sitting there peacefully. They were going through hell. Like you know, I mean, like I grew up in Syria.
Yeah.
When I was there, I was when the civil war was happening there, and the Russian army was there. Actually, was killing Syrian people. So I know how savage they are.
Yeah.
So man, they literally Russia sent what they are doing in Ukraine now, what they did in Chechnya, for example. If you remember what happened in Chechnya, Putin was in charge of that. They were using the what you call it? It's the policy of burning the land. You know what I mean? Like everything.
Yeah.
So, you know, like this is what they're doing. So Ukraine is going through hell now. They are struggling, like you know, like they are not ready for this, and even like the Russian army is like the strongest or the second strongest army in the world. You know what I mean? And you cannot compare. Like how many people? Ukraine is a nation of 20 million, maybe maximum. Russia is 170 million people. So the army is gonna be the Russian army is gonna be like more than 1 million people.
Yeah.
The Ukrainian army is gonna be 100,000 people maximum. And don't forget, they are not militarized country that much. So they are going through hell. They are like people are running to other countries. They are trying to run away. People are dying. Yeah, so they are going through hell. Yeah, and a lot of them become refugees now, which I'm happy for them that the world are accepting them with open arms.
Yeah.
Unlike the others, to be honest, I'm happy that they are having this treatment. Because myself, I was born as a refugee, and until now I'm a refugee. I'm stateless. I don't have a place I call home, and I never been welcome wherever I go. You know, but like it was, it's mixed feelings. Like you are happy for them they're having this, but at the same time you feel like I'm like okay. It's not like feeling bad. It's just like it's confusing. You know what I mean? So let's talk about the media now. What you started. So for example, me now is really irritating every time I check my Instagram, go to check the stories because I have Ukrainian friends, or I go to check Facebook and you see everyone like some people like let's do something for Ukraine, blah 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 blah. I stand with Ukraine and everything, but for example, man, I'm not talking about the media. I'm talking about the people, like the people, like everyone is like, for example, I'm in the party. I'm party organizer. I work with festivals and things. So I see DJs that are throwing online events for Ukraine or whatever, and they send to Ukraine, blah blah blah. At the same time, there was like last May, there was 226 Palestinians died. 2 hospitals were destroyed in Gaza by the Israeli army. There was 11 Israelis died, yes, but there was 226 Palestinians died by airstrike by Israel.
Yeah.
And all started by by the Israelis attacking the Aqsa Mosque, where it's the most holy place for Muslims. They were inside the mosque. They were throwing grenades inside the mosque.
Yeah.
That's why at that time it's escalated, and Hamas threw rockets there, which Israel returned. But like you know, but the people, no one was responding. You know, no one is even showing. No one noticed. You know what I mean? There was 226 people. In 2018, there was a lot. In 2014, in 2008. This year alone, there is 1,264 Palestinian kids under 15 were arrested without charges.
Up till now.
Until now, they
Yeah.
are under 15 years old just because they were throwing rock on a tank or an army.
3 months in, you're talking about 2,000.
What do you mean?
Just 3 months into the year, and you're talking about 2,000 people.
No, this is in 2021.
Okay.
I mean, yes, so the point is like, when I see what's happening in Ukraine, yes, it's war and it's going through hell. But like, for example, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, like when it was happening in May,
Yeah.
as Palestinian, I was trying to share things
Yeah.
and I was getting warnings like this is against the community guide.
Yeah,
or
you-
I
you
know a
told
lot
me
of
that,
people,
yeah.
they were sharing things and you cannot see anything.
Yeah.
So they were fighting the Palestinian content. At the same time, any Israeli content was there. You know, even the Israeli army, they were being washing, like, you know, with beautiful soldiers and these things, blah blah blah. So I mean, we see the double standards. You know, I mean, you're like, it's not double standards. I mean, this
it
is
is
the
double
this is the humanity part. Like we're talking about the people now,
Yeah.
where people like, you know, like literally everyone noticed what's happening with Ukraine
Mm-hmm.
really fast and really, you know, like feel bad for them.
Publicly
But at the same time,
broadcasted
but
properly.
at the same time, no one noticed when other things happens around the
Yeah.
world. For example, you have Palestine, which means 74 years.
Mhm.
74 years. There is Yemen.
Mhm.
There is Syria. It's been 10 years, and Russia was involved, by the way. And USA, and Russian and Turkish army are in Syria at the
Mhm.
moment. Okay. There is Iraq. There is Mali.
Mhm.
There is Ethiopia. There is Mozambique. They are having hunger. They are dying because of hunger now. You have Colombia,
Yeah.
Venezuela. What else do you want?
No, that's the thing. All of these
You know what I mean?
countries and all of these nations have been affected, but it's always, you know, the as going back to that reporter, we still have to talk about that. Going back to the reporter talking about, oh my God, these are blue-eyed women and
That's not a
children.
reporter. He is. He had a position. He was a minister in the Ukrainian government a few years ago. Actually, this guy.
Okay. Jeez, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. A person with that position saying that shit is just.
I mean, I'm not gonna be surprised. To be honest, like, okay, let me put this point. I think I might lose my Ukrainian friends now because of this. The Ukrainian president, he's doing great for his people.
Yeah.
But for me as Palestinian, I don't like this guy. Because, like, first of all, he's an Israeli citizen, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, when the war was happening, he made a post. He haven't even mentioned the Palestinians or that Israeli army is doing anything. He was
Yeah.
like, the sky of Israel is full of rockets. People are dying. Blah 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 blah. And when there was in the UN voting for like Palestinian state, he voted against that.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, back into your topic. You were talking about the media coverage, right?
Yeah, the blue-eyed.
Actually, there were many. There were many. So there was the SCBS or something like that.
Well, I have them open here,
Yeah.
and we may show something, but yeah, let me show that first actually, because this is something people do need to watch if you know, if possible.
Yeah.
I'll put us in the side here, and wait. Yeah, here it is. So yeah, this is not the best view, but it gives something.
This is one of the most viewed ones actually that people
Exactly.
see. You know? And it was on official TV. I was like,
Okay. Yeah, let's play this and see what is happening.
Eyes and blonde hair being killed, children being killed
I think
every
it's
day
about
with
the beginning.
Putin's missiles.
But
Can't
this
do that.
isn't a place, with all due respect,
Let me just refresh that. Okay. Go.
No, for me, because I see European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being killed, children being killed every day with Putin's missiles.
but this isn't a place, with all due respect, like Iraq or Afghanistan, that has seen conflict raging for decades. This is a relatively civilized, relatively European, I have to choose those words carefully too,
And this is
city where
choosing
you
his words
wouldn't
carefully.
expect that or hope that it's going to happen.
On est au 21e siècle, on est dans une ville européenne et on a des tirs de missiles de croisière.
We are in the 21st century, we are in a European city, and you have cruise.
Unthinkable has happened to them, and this is not a developing third world nation.
See, that's the thing when they talk about this. Okay, I'm not the best with history. That's why I like to have guests over
Okay.
who know exactly what's happening. But it's insane. Like when you talk about this, not some third world country. There's a reason they are third world as well, and it's not their only fault.
I mean, this is not the
they're
only.
so yeah.
Like in the last few videos you played, there was many points. Okay, first
Yeah.
of all, they were like the first point I want to point. The reporter was saying this is not Iraq, this is not Afghanistan.
Yeah.
This is civilized.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me, I just need to mention something. I don't know if you went to school or not, but civilization, the corridor of civilization is the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Is Iraq, Syria, Palestine, Jordan, and Egypt, Iran. This area. This is where this is the first place that we start farming. This is where all the civilizations, where everything started there. Babylon and blah 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 blah. The Achaemenid. This is where the civilization started. I'm sorry, but like until the 1700s, and Europe didn't have toilets. They had holes to go to toilets. No offense, but like that's not what we call civilization. The first doctor in the history, he was Middle Eastern. Algebra was invented in the Middle East.
Yeah, maths was astronomy,
algebra.
science.
First surgery was performed in Iran.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you mean civilized? By the way, let me mention something. The numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The way that we know this is Arabic, by the way. This is
Also?
Arabic numbers, yeah. By the way, this is not.
Can you explain that?
What do you mean?
Can you explain how they're Arabic? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The drawing of this is
Okay.
Arabic drawing.
Okay.
This is the way how we draw it in Arabic.
Yeah.
But the way that, for example, in Urdu or something, these are Indians. There's Urdu
Yeah,
like this. But the like 1, 2, this is the drawing of the Arabic culture, which you took it from there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you call somewhere like uncivilized because there are conflicts, okay, hold on, there is another point. When conflict is something or war is not something you would love to have. You know what I mean?
Of course.
It's not something fun. It's not something comes to you, you know what I mean? It's not like this area, like for example, Middle East is an area with wars. I mean, like, there are wars for reasons, but people there didn't choose to have wars. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not like it's their hobby.
I mean, exactly.
It's after tea,
Yeah.
I'm just going to start a war just for
Yes.
the fuck of it, basically.
And
yeah.
the fact
And
of
that's
like,
what it sounds like
and
in
the
these
fact he
news
chose
reports.
Afghanistan and Iraq is really weird because like he's American. The reason why Iraq now is destroyed country because the invasion of the USA, man.
Yeah.
So the US decided like after 9/11, after the like Iraq had nothing to do with that, right?
Yeah.
Like even like after that, Taliban or some they said we did that.
Yeah.
They said we did that. But George W. Bush decided to invade Iraq, saying they have mass destruction weapons.
Yeah.
And they were like, they went there.
It was about oil. Everyone knows.
Man, there's no mass destruction weapons.
Yeah.
They didn't find anything.
They didn't. Yeah. They
There
found
was-
them in a hole.
There
Obviously
was
hiding.
a lot of more than 1 million Iraqi people died. When this started in Syria, I was young, but like I remember there was a lot of Iraqis come as refugees to Syria.
Yeah.
Okay, what you hear in the Western media that Saddam Hussein Iraq was shit, he was like a dictator, blah blah blah. But all the Iraqis I met, they were like, okay, we prefer to have Saddam than having this.
Yeah.
Iraq in the Middle East before 2000, before the invasion, it was the richest country in the Middle East,
Yeah.
not the Emirates, Iraq. Like if you have someone of your family living in Iraq and working in Iraq, he's gonna become rich. It was like this. Okay, like it's political things. Yeah, I'm not like still. They say like okay, even if it was rough, it was not that democracy. But I mean, okay, what's your point? You as US, for example, I'm saying that because of like he's an American reporter and he chose this specific country
Yeah.
which both were fucked. Sorry for using language because of the USA. You know what I mean? Like Iraq, after the invasion of the US, until today is unstable.
Yeah.
Afghanistan, the whole thing in Afghanistan started, according to Hillary Clinton, Taliban and these people, they were groups created by the CIA to fight the USSR. And you can find the video online whenever you want. She is saying, we funded these people, we found these people, we funded them to fight the USSR. Then they become against them. Yes, so I mean, like, what do you mean? So both of these countries that you choose to talk about, they are having problems because of what? Can you tell me? Because of the American invasion.
No, but that's the thing. It seems like everywhere in the Middle East or outside of the US and European countries, everywhere there is wealth, there is success, there is a potential of growth of any sort, whether it can be through weapons, whether it can be through money, gold, investments, things like that. Every single time that has been taken over by a Western country. I
mean, that's what we call colonization.
Exactly.
Imperialism, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing happened with India and Pakistan.
I mean, that's like until the beginning of until the 50th and something, like, you know, UK, France, Belgium, they were occupying Congo. You know, like these countries, they were built on colonization.
Yeah.
And they are kind of until now, and they say until today that we were there to bring them good things. And like, I mean, I don't see you were to bring good things. Like until now, when you talk with British people that they agree with the British Empire, they were like, yeah, we were helping these people. No, you're not. If I'm an Indian person and I see you coming, I see white people coming to me and say like, we are coming here to present the Queen. I'm like, who are you? We are okay here. What do you want?
Exactly.
What do you want? Then you come and you put your rules and build your things, and I mean,
it's unnecessary invasion, but unnecessary for the countries being invaded, but not unnecessary for the countries actually invading, because they, you know, the spices joke has gone too far. It's not only that for example, the British got the spices and masala.
I stand by that.
We're still
there. They eat the potatoes for it, so I stand by that. But yeah, back to the point.
You know what I mean? That the West has always gained from these invasions.
Yeah, of course.
And they've always gained from not allowing.
There's a thing. When you say third world countries or developing countries or poor countries, these poor countries are not poor. They are overstolen. Like, look, for example, European countries, they don't have oil. They don't have metal. They don't have anything. Look at the countries that were colonized. India, Pakistan, and let's say Egypt, Congo, Mali, these countries, all the countries that were colonized, they are all rich countries with oil, with uranium, with rubber, with
gold.
I mean, like, these countries are not poor, these countries are rich, but they were overused.
Yeah.
And until now, France is out of Europe, right? But they are still have 90% of the resources in Europe, for example. So back to the topic when you said uncivilized place or a place you don't expect to have wars. Excuse me, man, but like 50 years ago, there was a World War II. In Europe, you killed how many people died in the World War II? Remember? Like 60 million people, right? I mean, there was 2 world wars in Europe, literally, when you are calling, like, this is a place, like, there was one of the reporters...
70 to 85 million.
Exactly. So when there was another reporter saying, like, this is Europe, this is not a place where you expect a war. I'm sorry, but, like, you are killing each other for 2 wars, you killed 72 million.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
True.
So first of all, you are calling the people that like, you were that were living peacefully and they were the corridor of civilization, and literally the first wheel was invented there, the first battery, where the farming invented. You called them uncivilized.
But that doesn't matter, right? Because their narrative is that we are the saviors of the world, right? And that's what it is. Like for example,
I mean, the first university was in Tunisia in the world.
No, that's what I'm saying though. That doesn't matter though. Like for example, whatever happened in Afghanistan, right? 2014, 2015, Vice did a documentary on them, and literally it looked like all the soldiers, all the generals, American, were like, we are completely fucked. We are leaving in 6 months. That was 2014.
Man,
They actually
I
left-
really avoid to watch any Netflix thing about Afghanistan
No,
or
that's
anything
not-
like that.
that's not
Even
Netflix.
documentaries,
Yeah.
because mostly the Western documentaries, they are showing the narrative that the Americans there are like the Afghanis. Dude, the
No, but I
Afghanistan.
have to correct you there for this
What?
this particular
I
documentary.
haven't seen it, but
Because that's what I'm saying. The American soldiers and generals are like, we are completely fucked and we are leaving because we screwed up big time. This was in 2014.
yeah,
2021, right? They actually left, and they took 6 years to come from a place where they're like, we are leaving tomorrow,
yeah,
to the point where we're leaving now. And when they actually left, now
man,
Hollywood is actually making this massive movie.
Yeah. The one
You're
that
talking about
Thor,
some of
the
the
guy
biggest.
I think the guy who,
Uh,
the actor of Thor, he did the
Maybe.
role. Yeah,
And so now they're
last
making
year.
the new narrative that, the war in Afghanistan, whatever we did there. So you're talking about millions and billions, actually, fuck millions. Billions of people are gonna watch that kind of movie, and several other movies like that, which are gonna change the narrative of the war in Afghanistan entirely, so that the future generations are gonna be like, yeah, Americans were saviors, and Afghanistan fucked up. That part of the world fucked up, and nothing could be done because it was never the fault of the U.S.
I'm sorry, but like,
Same thing with
I
Iraq.
mean, Afghanistan, it wasn't US only who had army there.
No,
Germany,
yeah.
Turkey,
Yeah.
UK,
But the US is the one making the
Ireland,
movie, right?
blah blah blah. All of them,
Yeah.
most of them, they were like private contractors,
Yeah.
companies. Because, by the way, the biggest supplier of lithium in the world is Afghanistan. So, yeah, man. But Afghanistan or whatever, man, like, you cannot come just say, like, you are a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I started journalism for 2 years, then I stopped because, like, to be honest, I cannot be natural to be on the news or anything,
Yeah.
I'm Palestinian. But to call an entire region uncivilized, which the civilization came from,
Yeah.
then you say they are used to war. No, they are not used to war
Yeah.
until today.
I
You know
mean,
what
they're used to war because you made that happen.
No one gets used to war, though. I lived through
Yeah.
war, man. No one gets used to war.
Okay.
Like, when you are like 500 meters from you, there's a bomb goes there, and you are like,
Yeah.
well, like there's like literally like 2 streets, and you don't get used to that, man. It's impossible.
Okay. I take
And
that back.
you know what I mean, man? And when you call like, this is not a place that we are used, like this is Europe. Europe, I'm sorry, man, but like you were killing each other, like until 1945, you were killing each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You are where you should be used to war, not other places. You know,
True.
at that time, other nations, they were living peacefully,
Yeah.
unless you were colonizing them. So.
Well, yeah, that's not as peaceful as they come, right? Colonizers. So, okay.
What?
So much to cover. Holy shit, there's so
No, we
much
have
to
time.
cover. I know we have time. Like I say, hi Suli, thank you for watching, and I appreciate
that's
it. Suli was watching,
Okay.
or I think still is watching. But I want you to tell me that being a Palestinian, how does this make you feel in terms of the fact that, well, you and I have had private conversations before, but like publicly, I want to ask you, being a Palestinian, how does all this make you feel that a video says that this is not a third world country, this is not some war zone that people are used to, this is not that kind of country, and being a Palestinian who is listening to these reporters talking
just told
about, sorry?
I just told you.
No, you just did, but people specifically saying that this is not a Palestinian situation, and people are defending Israel. So do you understand that while they are talking about the Ukrainian war, they're constantly
Comparing, yeah.
yeah,
I saw that,
constantly drilling this idea into everybody's heads that this is not that place, this is this place. This place is, gold. That place is shit.
Okay, first of all, being Palestinian,
Mm-hmm.
I'm super proud to be Palestinian. First of all,
Yeah.
second of all, Palestine. How did the whole Palestine-Israeli situation? How did it started? We go back again to the
Yeah.
colonization, to a lovely British.
Yeah.
which after the World War
I
One.
wonder if there's some British people.
After
there.
well,
Adam,
I
are
don't
you
know.
here?
I mean, after what happened there exactly? Let's start from the beginning. After the World War One, when the Ottoman Empire collapsed, so there was Sykes-Picot, called Sykes-Picot letter. So they were like the Prime Minister of France, Prime Minister of Britain, and I'm not sure who else. Yeah, so, no, they're both of them, Sykes and Picot. So they decided it was just like a cake in front of them. Whatever, you take this, I take this, I take this. So France took Syria and took Lebanon and parts of Turkey.
Yeah.
The British took Iraq and Jordan, Palestine, and Egypt, and Sudan too. Sudan, it was one country at that time, and even Sudan and Egypt, they were one country called Egypt and Sudan. It was a really massive country.
Yeah.
So it started then when the British they were there. Then it was an occupation, yeah. It's the same. It's like it was the British mandate. I'm sorry, no, it wasn't. It was an occupation. So as Palestinians, like there's a Jewish community, Christian community, and Palestinian and Muslim community. You know, I mean, it's like Jewish or Palestinians originally. Moses was born there. No, he was born in Egypt, but I'm there. Jesus is Palestinian. You know what I mean? So it's a land that is a peaceful land. We never had an army. Okay. The point is what was happening in Europe. There was a huge movement of anti-Semitism, which is shit, which is really bad actually. And by the way, as Palestinians, what you see in the news, like Jewish and Palestinian. No, we don't have a problem with Jewish. It's not about religion. It's the politics. So there
What
was
is the politics? What is the politics?
By the way, Zionism and Judaism, they are not compatible. You have Jewish people are not Zionists. Until now, you can see them in the streets of London protesting against Israel, and they say we are not allowed to have a country, and they are Jewish. And there's a lot of Jewish in the States and around the world, like they are Palestinian Jewish men, and they are not Israelis, and they are treated really bad by the Israelis. So in Europe in the 1800s, no, in the 1900s, yeah, and something like that, there was like they were treated really bad in Europe, right? Everyone know that. So there was a guy called Theodor Herzl. He created Zionism, the Zionist party, in Bern in Switzerland.
Yeah.
Even he was a Swiss.
Okay.
So they start creating this idea, okay, that Jewish people are being oppressed in Europe, blah blah blah. So we need to find a place for us. We need to find a place for Jewish people to put them and not be oppressed. Okay, and so at that time when they were like the World War, blah 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 blah. Then they start coming. They will start some in the beginning like 1,000 people coming like this, migrating to Palestine.
Yeah.
Which and they were coming as refugees and staying, and we were fine. But then they were coming. What the British mandate was doing was taking lands from Palestinians. Not we were selling. No, they were forcing people to leave their lands and give it to people coming from Europe.
Based on what?
On religion. If you are Jewish, so because 2,000 years ago you were here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So until after the World War One, when the British Empire, Ottoman Empire collapsed, the British mandate, there was even there is a Balfour letter to the guy who's, you know, every country have like there was no embassies at that time, but there it was
Like
the guy, the biggest the rabbi or something in UK. He was like called Balfour. He made a promise for him to make a home for Jewish people in the world in Palestine, saying land with no people for people with no land, which there was people. There was people. Then the Jewish people start coming, which it wasn't a problem until they start having gangs called Haganas and Aragon, which Prime Minister of Israel was fighting there at that time, the first Prime Minister, Ben-Gurion. So my grandfather, the story how my grandfather left his house, we were like from a village near Nazareth, now is a national park because like they destroyed everything. So there were gangs, literally gangs, going to the village, killing everyone.
Okay.
and they are farmers, you know what I mean, and like people like, and just you.
They're not people who would be able to fight back. Obviously.
When people come with guns and things, like for example, like someone like, okay, we are sitting here, someone come knock on the door, have M16 in their hands, and they say like, get outside of here or I'm shooting you. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, fuck off.
But for us Palestinians, what we did, okay, we went out, we crossed the road and we're standing.
Yeah.
That's my house. Then you throw a rock on them, they were like, open the door. Ah, you are throwing rocks on me. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are throwing rocks, you are terrorists. So in the 1948, when this happened, around 800,000 Palestinians were forced to leave. We left from like where it's like few tents. So my grandfather and my grandmother, they walk all the way from Nazareth to Syria.
How far away is that?
Man, that's pretty far. You can put Nazareth to Nazareth to Yarmouk camp.
To?
Yarmouk camp. That's pretty far, man.
Yeah, well,
No, show me the map.
236 kilometers. Via a highway.
No, but these are walking.
Yeah.
They were walking,
yeah.
you know what I mean? And they were like, they were living in tents, literally in tents.
Okay.
Not like literally like they were living in tents. For like 10, 15 years they were in tents, you know.
Yeah.
Then they start like, you know, it become like it's a ghetto and something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much is. I mean, yeah, and even after that, like you're born as a refugee. Like my father was born in Syria as a refugee, but like even if you are, you cannot work as a doctor, you cannot work as engineer, you cannot. So Palestinian, we have something we always work on. Like we cannot go back to Palestine. So technically, we don't have a country.
Yeah.
So we get educated. But the problem is in Syria and Lebanon, there is a lot of refugees, but you cannot, even if you have a master's degree, you are allowed to work on constructions only. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's no gain there.
I mean, they see you just like you need to stay in this camp.
Yeah.
Think about dream of going back to your country, which is not happening, and that's what you can do. You know what I mean? It's and even like man, as a refugee, it's not easy to travel, not easy to go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like you cannot go anywhere. Simply.
Yeah.
Shittiest passport in the world. Shittiest passport of the world is way better than the document that you have because you have a travel document for refugee.
Yeah.
It's not a passport.
Yeah.
And most of the time, like when I arrived here in Thailand, man, they were like, "What is this?" I was like, "I have a visa." She was like, "Okay, sit down." I spent like 2 hours, and they were really everyone. They were like, "Oh, what is this?"
Yeah, because like, what the fuck
this is like it looks like a passport, but it's not a passport, you know. So it does when you scan it, it doesn't scan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they were like, "What is this?" I was like,
and that's interesting when you said just now. We can't go anywhere. For any normal conversation between two people, like I'm from Pakistan, I have a really bad passport, right?
Yeah, still.
But no, that's what I'm saying. I'm not defending anything.
Come on, our friend from Pakistan was in Europe 2 years ago. He was going for tourism. You know what I mean?
True. No, but that's what I'm saying. Like in any normal conversation, you'd be like, yeah. Like, so what do you mean you can't go anywhere? I literally cannot fucking go anywhere. That's the only response that you can get, right? Which is interesting. Hazor Adama, thank you for watching on YouTube. Said we're life. I don't know what that means. But
so yeah, simply let me answer that. Being a Palestinian man in the end, man, I'll tell you what. Simply you feel you are the gypsy of the war, technically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You are always having your backpack, but you don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
But still, you are kind of like, and even Palestinians, we have identity issue because man, you have Palestinians born as refugees like me out of Palestine. Yeah. I grew up in an area. The streets of it's like 2 kilometers, and we were like 100,000 people now. And the area, the street names are Palestinian towns, Palestinian town names. And we live in a community. You know what I mean? It's just like you are living there. You are waiting. You are waiting for something. According to my grandmother, she was saying the most dangerous thing is the fake hope, and we are living a fake hope. So Palestinians, refugees, for example, we are living waiting for something. We have been waiting for years. especially Palestinian refugees in Syria, for example, would be refugees from Palestine. Then when the war started in Syria, the Yarmouk camp, there was an airstrike on Yarmouk camp actually, and everyone were running away. Like even there was, I remember, on the 16th of December 2012, there was an airstrike. Then on the morning of 17th, I was in the street, I was going home, and everyone is running out.
This is your personal story.
And what I was seeing, you know what it reminded me of? When my grandmother was describing the way they ran away out of Palestine, there was a lot of people running in the street. I was seeing the same people running out of a refugee camp, man. Everyone handling their kids with a blanket are running in the streets, man. Thousands of people. I was like, what is happening? And I was like, yes, you know what I mean? So, we have, as Palestinian refugees, we have different realities. You have the Palestinians in Gaza, for example, which I have I have cousins there, which is open air prison. You have the Palestinians we call them 48. The Palestinians who have who are still inside, like have Israeli nationality, but they are treated as like fourth grade citizen. They don't have rights or anything, and they're super racist with them. And you have the people on the West Bank, which in the West Bank, the West Bank, you know what the West Bank is, right? So, West Bank, Israel is not allowed to be there at all, right? But the Israeli army is there. There are settlements there, and until now, they are building settlements. Jerusalem, like according to international law, in before 1967, East Jerusalem is Palestinian, the West is Israel. But until now, for example, Israel, like Sheikh Jarrah, what was happening, okay? And I have a friend, she's Jewish American. She went to one of these trips that like a Jewish organization take them there, and she was on a bus, and they gave her a map, and the map shows all Israel. Like she is Jewish, but she's not Zionist. She was like, excuse me, but like, where is West Bank and Gaza? They were like, they are Israel. She was like, no, they are not. She was really shocked. They are really treated as all them. So in the West Bank and Gaza, you are like really living under threat of everything. The people who have Israeli nationality, most of them they leave after they are 18 because like, man, it's really hard for them. If your name is Mahmoud or Muhammad or something like that, you cannot get a job, and it's really hard for them. So the reality is, you have people living in exile, okay, that they can do nothing. It's been 70 years, they are waiting. You have people that are living in open air prison. Every time to time in Gaza, Israel rocket them and kill them. And like literally, my mom cousin, she is there. Since 2005 until now, their house was destroyed 5-6 times, man.
Okay. So they keep on rebuilding, or they keep on moving?
Like, there's no such thing as a family living alone in Gaza, man. There's like a lot of people. There's like 2 million people in Gaza, man. It's the most crowded place on earth because it's a strip. So here is the beach, right? And by the way, you are not allowed to go in the sea more than 10 meters. So fishermen cannot go there. And Egypt closing the border from the other side, and Israel from the other side. And so it's kind of terrible situation. And by me, like as Palestinian, if you ask me about what's happening in Ukraine now, I'll say, Russia for me is doing what Israel did. The same thing. And I think Ukrainians have all the right to fight and resist whatever it takes. But at the same time, for me, it feels bad to see, for example, when like Palestinians fight, like a Palestinian stab a soldier, for example, as a soldier, it's for us it's an occupation. They are occupying our land, so we are resisting. When you see on the news, like in the media, people making Molotovs in the street, and the government teaching them how to do that, and even people online, people are funding to send them weapons.
Exactly, they're helping.
And that day I watched a video on the news, like there was a guy holding 2 Kalashnikovs, and the reporters talking to them, do you know how to use it? We're like, no. And all of these, the media is saying they are heroes, they are resisting, blah 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 blah. But when it comes to Palestinians, if like throwing rocks, they're like, they are terrorists. Like, what logic is that? Can you make it make sense, please? Okay, it's been 74 years, maybe now people doesn't have the same, like, not following, but then Israel is a country and Palestinians are just trying to attack them. Okay. Why would you Just like you're gonna fight with people just knowing that? No. There is a reason. So when you're supporting Ukrainians to fight by all means to resist, why you are calling Palestinian terrorists?
I feel like there's uneducation to the extreme where all of these facts
I mean, the
have
Palestinian-Israeli
happen.
thing is not what they say in the news is complicated just to not discuss it. It's really easy.
No, it's very easy.
I
I'm
mean,
just saying that there are things that are missing in history books, literally, especially in the So when I studied in the U.S., right, I did this communications class, and we were supposed to give a speech. I gave a speech about how you're having hot or cold? You're feeling hot, okay? How people are if you're a family in Palestine. No, I didn't mention Palestine at all initially in the speech. I was like, if you're sitting with your family, your mom, sister, dad, brother, son, whatever, and somebody starts banging on the door, it just becomes louder and louder and louder. A bunch of soldiers just barge right in. They fucking rape your daughter. They rape your mom. They rape your sister. They pull your dad and son from their hair outside, and they shoot them. No, I said this. It was a 2-minute speech, and the 1 minute was just this kind of introduction. After that, I was like, "How would you feel?"
Yeah.
And literally, there was this really big black sports management major, really big guy, used to play American football for the university. He had a fucking tear in his eye. And later on, he actually came to me with his friends, like big badass guys, and they're like, "What were you like? Have you experienced this?" I was like, "No, but I'm not blind to what's happening in different places in the world."
Yeah.
These people, whether they have not been educated, or whether people have just refused to tell them what actually is happening in the rest of the world, and everybody's in their own bubble.
I mean, I can say about the Palestinian thing, like there are people argue like that, like whatever the Israeli did, but this is their land.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's be clear here. So Jewish people, they were in Palestine 2,000 years ago, right? Then they were displaced, right? Okay, let's stay with them. They are still originally they are from there, but it's a religion. Let's even if it's a nationality, right? But when you leave the place for 2,000 years, then you come back and there are people living there. Means they are from there.
Yeah.
And you try to kill them and kick them out.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you mean? If you are coming, for example, if I go back to Palestine, like you're Pakistani. Let's say you left. Then when you come back, in your area there's someone living there.
Yeah.
Are you gonna kick out the people or just live next to them?
Try to kick them out.
No, I mean not taking your stuff. If you, for example, you are from this nationality, you left for a really long time. Then you come in last 10 years of your life, you find people living in the area. So you tell them you don't belong to here if they don't look like you.
Of course not.
And to be honest, for me as Palestinian, the annoying thing that like when someone really blonde and getting sunburn until now tells you I'm from here, I'm like, you are impossible to be Middle Eastern, man. You are blonde with blue eyes, getting sunburn. You are telling me I don't belong to here. I mean, this is kind of. Don't get me wrong, by the way. I have some Israeli friends here.
Yeah.
But like the point is, the Israeli friends I have here. First of all, we don't talk about politics. But at the same time, they are like, okay, you have different type of Israelis.
Yeah.
You have that Israelis that like is really like anti-Palestinians and you don't belong here, and you have the people that like, man, our grandfathers like, whatever happened is happened, but I was born there. Like one of my friends was like, man, he was like, I was born there, man. You know what I mean? I cannot do anything about that. So, but you know what I mean? We don't need to say, man, we don't need to talk about it. But you have that person that like, you see, like you have the far right Israelis, man. They go on the street, death for Palestinians, blah blah blah.
just kick them out, kill them. There should be
Yeah,
blood
yeah, yeah.
everywhere. Yeah.
And
I
hold
think
on,
the young
hold on.
people
And in the
are
media,
that.
and in the media, you don't see anything about these people.
Yeah.
But for example, Bella Hadid, the supermodel, she's Palestinian by the way.
Yeah.
When she went in May in New York to protest, they
Yeah.
were like, "Do you know what the New York Times did? Like Dua Lipa and Gigi Hadid and Bella Hadid, they posted about that, like Palestine. They were like, they are calling for another Holocaust. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
I'm talking about Holocaust.
Yeah.
Holocaust, what happening, like, okay, the Holocaust was something terrible, right? But who is paying the price for that are Palestinians, not Germans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, simply what happened, the Holocaust, like, there's a lot of people, conspiracy that the Holocaust, no, it did happen. And it was a terrible thing. One
Yeah,
of the
of
most
course.
terrible things happened in the history.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't do the same thing happen to you
Exactly.
to other people.
That
For Palestinians, what happens is like the day of like when everyone's kicked out on this on the 15th of May, we call it the catastrophe. Dude, for us it's a Holocaust too, because man, we were slaughtered, we were kicked out, blah blah blah. Until now, we are like in Palestine. In Palestine, how many Palestinians there are? So there was 800,000 refugees. Now there are 7 million. We don't have a country. Like for me at the UN, when I went to the UN, they were like, "You are stateless." I was like, "What?" They were like, "You are stateless." I'm like, "No, I'm Palestinian." They're like, "No, you are stateless." I'm like, "No, I'm Palestinian." So for me, I am stateless. Even in Germany, by the way, Germany is a country that like really feeling guilt about what they did, so they're putting the guilt on the Palestinians actually.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like if you suffered a certain way, then you would. If you were a normal human being, you would make sure that nobody around you suffers in the same way, right?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't going to be an international incident, Palestinians in currently Palestine would be actually just sent to concentration camps, which they are already in, by the way.
Well,
I'm
they
talking
did.
about. Sorry, I misspoke. Not concentration camps. Gas chambers.
Yeah, that was one of the worst humanity
Exactly.
things. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, it was a terrible thing, but yeah, but like the thing that happened after, like, I mean, like now the Israeli government, we are not calling, like, because what happened to the Jews in Germany. You know what I mean? And I have a lot of like there is you cannot say like you cannot put a government and the same. You know what I mean? Because like the Israeli government, I'm sure not all Israelis goes with what the government says. You know what I mean? It's just like anywhere in the world. But like, yeah, what the Israeli government doing by demolishing houses, since whenever, you know what I mean, by, you know what I mean, all this is ethnical cleansing since, you know what I mean.
Since over 70
And
years.
to be honest, like recently, Amnesty International, one of the most respected organizations, they released a 20 minutes video talking about like in its apartheid state. And you know what happened? The French government and Israeli government, Israeli prime minister, I think, or something. Not the prime minister, one of the ministers. He was like, we refuse what they said, and Amnesty International work with terrorists.
Yeah.
How was that? Dude, this
It's
is
really
not.
easy to just label everybody as a terrorist if they just don't.
At the same time, like a few
agree to
months
your
ago,
own, ideas.
few months ago, Israel closed six NGOs helping Palestinians and things, labeled them terrorists.
Yeah.
Well, they're not doing anything. But the point is, yeah, like Amnesty International, they were working for 4 years on this report. They started by like what apartheid is, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, to South Africa, and see what's happening in Palestine now. The checkpoints, you have the checkpoints. You have different roads for Israelis and roads for Palestinians.
Yeah.
The water supply.
Control of the water supply?
Excuse me?
I
90% of the water in Gaza is undrinkable.
Okay.
In the West Bank, the water sources, what the Israeli citizen water get and what the Palestinian get, this is a thing. What do you want? What else? The different IDs. Even if you are an Israeli citizen, there are different IDs, different plate numbers. You know what I mean? There are different neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That doesn't tell you this an apartheid?
Yeah.
I mean,
it was really interesting. I think you watched that interview between me and Maria Mafifi last year.
yeah.
And she had gotten viral and stuff, and one of her things like blew my mind, but it was something I was expecting, but when she said it, sitting in Jerusalem, it just like blew my mind. She talked about how when she goes out at night, which is she can't go out too late at night. She can't if it's cold outside. She can't put her hands in her pockets while she's walking down the road because soldiers can kill her.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but if anyone, I know, like, they're like, if you are like, they think you are attacking them. And to be honest, man, there is Israeli army everywhere. And I don't know if you see these videos, man. There was like, for example, like they attacked a disabled person. Man,
I've seen so many. I just stopped.
I mean,
It's
like,
too much.
when you are attacking disabled people, when you're attacking kids just for being, you know, who they are, what do you mean? You know that in Palestinians not allowed to show a Palestinian flag, you can go to jail if you just show a Palestinian flag.
How fun.
It's for real, you know what I mean? Really, man, even like in May, like, even there are cities that they're like, the Palestinians have Israeli identity in Haifa and Led or something like that. Do you know what was happening during the Gaza war? The settlers, the Israelis, they were attacking the houses where the Palestinians living. That was happening.
Say that again?
They were attacking the houses. Of, like they know that they are Palestinians.
Yeah.
Like they are Palestinians with Israeli nationality, so they are attack the houses and they're trying to kill them and they will shoot them in the street, man.
Yeah, but that, yeah.
You know what I mean? It was on a big scale that the.
But that's the thing. There's so much knowledge out there. There's so much information out there, and that brings me to my next point of discussion. How do we fix it?
Fix what?
Fix all of this. Like this comes in different parts. I think we need a break for this, by the way. But you know, how do we think that the world can do better? How do we think that news media can do better? What can we do as individuals? And eventually, I would like to talk about like legit news sources that we can look into because
there is no legit news sources.
Well, yeah, but
Every
I'm a
news
huge
source,
fan of Al Jazeera though. Based on
actually,
a lot of their.
You have different. You can check all and see, and you compare. This is how you get the,
No, but
the truth.
not
you know?
everybody wants to do that, right? I mean, people
yeah.
who watch, for example, fucking Fox News, they're never going to watch anything. They're never going to watch Al Jazeera, right? So, I mean, it would be lovely if they would watch both and understand different points of views. But like I said, that there are people in the world who literally have not left their own city, let alone turn on a channel that talks about different kinds of different parts of the world.
Yeah, true.
So
let's go through the points one by one. What was the first one?
Yeah, the first one is how do we as individuals fix like, you know, talk about this
to humanities in general.
Yeah, like talk about it to the point that it is actually broadcasted everywhere possible. So for example, if this podcast, right, hopefully fingers crossed, but if this podcast reaches every single house in the world,
yeah,
right, and everybody listens to every single thing that you have said and I've asked, it might make a difference, but we're only two people. But we have the power of technology to broadcast everything all over the world. So what can we do as individuals to actually fix it? Because it has to get fucking fixed too. It can't be like, we can't possibly...
You are super optimistic, first of all, but like... Yeah,
I've always been.
I would say what?
Just the last point of that was that I really hope that two people like us are not talking about the same shit 74, 75 more years in the future, talking about the exact same thing, saying that, dude, it's been 150 years, come on. You know what I mean?
You are talking about Palestine or in general?
Well, Palestine because you're a Palestinian guest, but also like in general because this has got to stop, dude. Like you can't possibly talk about the Ukraine war in a different light and then talk about Palestinian wars and like, you know, their situations in a completely different light.
Okay, I have something I believe, to be honest, man.
Do it.
For example, to be honest, if you are supporting Ukraine, you are seeing what's happening in Ukraine makes you feel bad, okay? And you're really annoyed at the thing, and you are seeing what happened in Yemen, Palestine, and you don't care, you're racist.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's be clear.
Oh yeah.
To be honest, really, man, when you
Yeah.
see it's the same thing happening, but is the only thing is moving you is
Yeah.
what's happening in Ukraine. I'm sorry, but you're racist.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the same for me. If I'm seeing what's happening in the Middle East, I'm feeling terrible, but not feeling bad for Ukrainians. I'm a hypocrite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the most important thing to get better, I think the most important thing for us as a human being to educate ourselves. So
Yeah.
simply, it's not, for example, I see something on the news and just believe. Or for example, if I have a friend that, for example, if you have a Palestinian friend, you're like,
He launches Home for Ukraine scheme.
I'm happy for them.
There's a
I'm
reason
happy for
China-
them. I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for example, if you have I'm Palestinian, but if you have a Palestinian friend and you hear everything, okay, listen, but understand, listen to everything, you know?
Yeah.
Do your research, blah, 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 blah. It's not just listen from one part, you know? I mean, in Ukraine, in Russia, there is no excuse, actually. Like, yeah, you cannot listen to Russian government because that was just an excuse. I have a Russian friend, which I think we lost each other already. She was like, what happened? Putin wants peace. I was like, what? She was like, he went there because there are two places they want to get independent,
That's interesting.
and the Ukrainian were killing them. Like, yeah, but they are Ukrainian.
That's interesting.
Anyway, my point is, yeah, just like get, if you want to, break, okay.
No, not all. I'm just setting it up.
I mean, just like try to read more before you talk about anything, or you take a side, or any conflict, or any war. Read, know what can you do, and the most important thing is more than what there is. To be honest, like any war doesn't matter who's right and who's wrong. When the war is happening, the war is happening. What can you do to help the people who are affected, the civilians, the people that they are just stuck in this war? This is the most important thing. Pointing fingers is not that effective. What effective is what you do for the people. Even the emotional support is a big part of it, actually. Yeah, I think that's what can do. If you are asking about Palestine-Israel thing, well, you have like 7 million refugees around the world are stateless. Do you think it's going to be solvable before they find a home? Nah. As Palestinian, I'll tell you, the only way to this
I was
get
about to
solved.
cross my fingers, but
I mean, you cannot solve it. Like, you cannot just like, okay, we make whoever is there, and there's 7 million people are stateless, are like homeless simply. They're simply homeless.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's actually worse than being homeless because at least when you're homeless, you know where the fuck you're supposed to be. Right?
it's just you never call a place home. That's it.
Yeah.
You go for it.
Okay. Holy shit. This has been wonderful, but we are continuing this. We have a few more questions and discussions to go through, and I wouldn't mind like making this an entire series, Mo, just so you know.
Okay.
At the moment, we are taking a 5-minute break. Oh, that was from that. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's
I
alright.
thought you said a break.
No, it's okay. So yeah, I'll be muting, but we'll be coming So, this has been an interesting podcast up till now, and it'll get even more interesting when we talk about how to actually make a difference using podcasts like these, broadcasting these issues and problems to the whole world, and see what we can do to fix things in our own little tiny way. In my own little tiny way, if I can help, one person get educated or one person like get saved by these kind of podcasts, like holy shit, what a fantastic achievement that would be for me personally. But we have Mo coming in, and again, and so we'll talk a bit more about how to actually go about doing stuff like that. So Mo, I was talking to the 100 million people watching that how can we actually start educating people and saving lives and fixing these issues in a very fast manner. What could we do? Do we just do these podcasts all the damn time?
I mean, the biggest problem with this is the narrative, or the people are really, for example, man, like if you are born in a specific community, somehow we like people are like just like it's like a herd, you know what I mean? Just like I grew up knowing this right means everything else is wrong.
Yeah.
People doesn't listen to each other. Or like whatever, like I know a lot of people, for example, you are discussing anything, man, which Burger King is better or McDonald's?
Yeah.
McDonald's is better. No, I like Burger King more. No, you don't. Yeah, this is an issue, and it's in everything.
So it's like
People
basically
doesn't
being open
accept
to
the others, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Doesn't, like, for example, you have this opinion about this, and the rest of the people are wrong.
Yeah.
Just because this is your point, your narrative, your point of view. If your opinion that doesn't mean the other person or the other narrative is wrong. It's
Yeah.
just different perspectives. Yeah, that's what I think. So the important thing, just use it, use the brain. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like in music, like for example, if you like this musician and like someone say, yeah, I don't like it that much, this my favorite, oh, you like it, I don't like it, I like someone else. Do the same thing in politics, in other things, it's the same thing. That's what I think. But in fast manner, nah, that's impossible, man. That's impossible. People are way...
I'm extra optimistic, aren't I? I'm extra optimistic, aren't I?
You need to be realistic.
Realistic, yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, you need to be realistic.
Okay, that answers the question. Like, what do you think the world in general can do better?
Be accepting the others more, or not looking like for example you know that there is an experiment about the elephant in the room, and what do you see if you are standing under the elephant? You see just a nose. So, or you just see something here you don't know. Like if you are under the elephant, you just see a roof above you.
Yeah.
But if you are standing in the corner, you see a tail, you see a nose. You know what I mean? This is the point. So to be able to make difference, you need to look at things from different perspective. Search about the thing. It's just not like, for example, go to watch like, for even this was with COVID thing. Like there's a lot. Like I have a friend. I'm not gonna name him because you know him. He shared me in the beginning of COVID. He shared me something about the vaccine. And a friend of mine happened to be. She's a pharmacist. She had a doctorate in pharmacist. She was sitting next to me, and she saw the link. I said, "Hold on, let's see." So he sent me something like about the vaccine, that how terrible it is, blah blah blah, and it's according to a name, a scientist. And she said, like, in the science community, this person is really controversial because he's like, you know. And when I asked this person, I was like, man, well, what is this link? He's like, I don't know, man, I just shared it to you. I said, did you read it? He said, no. Did you research who wrote this? He's like, no. You know what I mean? There's a big problem that people get their news from Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to remember. You have to remember. For example, every news channel, every outlet, they are representing the sponsor. For Fox News, for example, they are totally represent Donald Trump, for example, right? It's the same, man. Every news source representing who is sponsoring that.
Yeah.
So you cannot come like see something like somewhere and come you think it's the total truth. No, this doesn't work this way.
Yeah.
In everything. There is no such thing as totally truth. You know what I mean?
And what's your take on this? A backstory. I think you watched a bit of my streams when COVID started happening. I did a 25-day thing. It was supposed to be a 30-day
You
thing.
were grumpy.
I was grumpy. I was pissed off. But the thing is, it was supposed to be for 30 days. I could only do successful streams for 24
Yeah.
because it started fucking depressing me. And that brings me to my next point. That that's a good segue. Good, nice transition, sexy. Like, what about the toll all of these pieces of news, all of this information takes on your mind? You know, like if you go, like when I went through it, I saw like, okay, numbers, millions of people getting affected, hundreds of thousands of people dying every fucking day all over the world. I had lists all in front of me and stuff. It was depressing. You know, I was watching videos and reading stories about people dying and this and that. Somebody hung himself in Phuket, for example, because he was too fucking scared about like, you know, whatever is happening, and they didn't have money and shit like that. And that's where what my point is. Like, what do you think of all the negativity that ends up in your head? How do you sift through that to actually understand things better, but not let it affect you so badly?
I mean, if you want to think about negative things, you have every day since you wake up until you sleep, you have 1 million things to make you depressed, and you want to just like we are doomed, you know what I mean? But the point is, in everything, like including of being super negative and think about the negative way. Okay, everything is going bad. For example, the COVID, I was not working for a year, and it was really bad situation. But at the same time, I cannot just say like, okay, like yeah, I'm done. No, like at the same time, okay, even when things are going really terrible, just like try to not add negative things to it. Don't overthink things. Don't overthink. Don't overthink things. Yeah, that's
You
how I
did
put
well.
it. Yeah. So the point is, man, when I was seeing a lot of people dying, blah blah blah, COVID, yeah, this is terrible. But at the same time, what you can do that to make sure that not more people get COVID. So like in the beginning, like when the quarantine was happening, yeah, it was terrible, especially my work and everything. But I was staying home. You know what I mean? So in everything, even when there are a lot of negative things happening, just try to think, okay, how to make it positive.
So you're basically saying that if a lot of people do research on Palestine and Ukraine and all these things that are happening, instead of thinking how bad everything is
How to
all
solve
the
it.
time, how to solve it. Yeah.
Or like,
Think
for
about
example,
solutions.
like Palestine and Israel, as Palestinian, if you are like non-Palestinians, okay, like if you are reading or seeing things about this, the point is not like who is like, okay, it's been terrible, blah blah blah. It's not like it's bad, blah blah blah. Yeah, it is bad, but how to fix this? You know what I mean? How it might be better.
How
know
you
what I
can
mean?
play your little part in
Exactly,
the solution.
like how to you know what I mean, how to make things okay, more better, you know, like let's not talk about Palestine and Israel, like Ukraine for example, and Russia. Like, yeah, Ukraine is being said, like, good that there is a good thing that people are donating, but make sure, like, okay, to donate to the right people. You know what I mean? This is the important thing. When there is something bad, just think how to make, make it better. If you cannot make it better, just how less effective. You know what I mean? Like, for example, like emotional support is a big part of things. And to be honest, there is a really good thing happening for the Ukrainian now. I'm happy is happening. They are getting a really good emotional support that Palestinians will never experience. It was really small, you know what I mean? But like when you see everyone is supporting you, that makes you feel, even in the worst situation, makes you feel strong, makes you feel better, you know what I mean? So this is my point. When there's something really negative, just try to look at, even if there is no bright side, make it less bad. That's what I'm saying. This is, I think.
Thank you. No, that was wonderful. Just because people need, I feel that there's so much information, there's so much activity going on in the world today that people need specific guidance on how to deal with the most basic things.
You do things with your own way. The point, I'm not saying do this. No, you deal the things with your own way. And of course, in the news, like for example, COVID. Like I was wondering, like you have this person that like there was a lot of them. every day sharing how many people are dying, and I was like, can you please stop sharing this? Really, there was a person I blocked on my Facebook because like she's my friend, but she was really every day she was like, more cases, we are dying. She was freaking out.
Yeah.
And in this kind of situations, like it's just like, for example, you are on a small boat in the middle of the sea, like the refugees who goes from during the Mediterranean Sea, and someone freaks out and start moving the boat. All the boats gonna fall down.
Yeah.
Don't be that person.
Good analogy. Yeah.
Don't be that person. Be the person when like everything is bad. Okay, it's just you feeling like keep it down. Because if you freak out, you are freaking everyone out.
Yeah.
And most likely, when you are freaking out and everyone freak out and around you, it's gonna be a bigger thing. You know, and in the end, you are gonna not get anything. People are gonna be getting in a worse situation.
Yeah. Yeah. If your friend had instead tried to figure out a solution by saying, you know,
Negativity is a disease, man.
yeah.
Fear is a disease. Like I believe since I was young. Fear is a disease, man. Fear literally, even if you are 100% healthy, puts you in hospital, man. Literally. You know what I mean? It's gonna give you a heart attack even if you are 100% healthy. So fear is a disease.
Interesting.
And the fear, when you feel scared of something, just try to face it. Don't get more and more get negative about it. Just face your fears. Okay, COVID, like beginning, they were like, oh, okay, we are dying, everyone's dying before vaccines and blah 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 blah. Even vaccines, I'm not sure they work or they don't. I got vaccinated not because I believe in vaccine, to be honest. Just like I was because like, okay, if I don't get vaccinated, a lot of people are getting vaccinated, we are not getting back to normal. So the situation is gonna stay still. It's not gonna go anywhere. Let's say if 50% of the vaccinated people, the vaccine work on them, that's good because like we're gonna become like herd immunity, right? So vaccine, I got vaccinated not because I believe in vaccine or I don't believe in vaccine. I just did so that I keep going, so we get back to normal life. That's it. And I think in any situation is like this, in situations like pandemic, I mean, yeah. But being like, for example, there's like anti-vaccine 100% people, I really don't understand you, to be honest. I'm not a scientist, okay? Like I have a friend of mine, she's a doctor in pharmacy, you know her. Like for her, she got vaccinated, and she is not like you vaccinate, she doesn't care. But her father and mother are 70s. Once she was like, whenever you get it fast, because it affects you fast. But the point is like the people that they are like vaccines is bad. I'm like, I mean like man, okay, what do you want? So you want to get vaccinated, but at the same time you are in US, for example, you see this a lot. You are protesting against your government because of COVID, which COVID is a pandemic.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get vaccinated, and you want everything to be solved, but you are not trying to do anything to get this solved.
Yeah.
Yeah, vaccine, they're gonna track you, blah blah blah. I mean, are you 5 years old? Sorry about that.
No,
I find it really silly, to be honest.
No, it is silly because a lot of Americans they talk
It's
about.
not Americans only. Everywhere.
No.
Like I have a friend.
Okay, so you're talking about but
In general,
I have a
example.
French friend who says the exact same thing as a lot of Americans. For example, in the past, that like I don't want this because of this reason. His reason I understand though.
What's the reason?
But I don't agree with it completely. But I understand what his reason
No,
is.
I understand that.
His reasoning is that it's not been tested for 10 to 20 years, just like the older vaccines had been. So that's why I don't want to get it. I don't trust it.
But
I
there's
don't
a beginning of everything. For example, we used to die because of flu, right?
Yeah.
Or cold.
Exactly, I know.
So if we didn't start,
I've had these conversations. With
I mean, it's
but
it's
but
just,
it's all the main point is that the right to choose. That is something that a lot of French people deal with. They want to be able to choose something, and if they don't want to choose it, they don't want something, stuffed down their throats, basically. And that's what a lot of Western countries deal with as well. That we need to have the right to choose.
True that. Okay, so what's happening now? I saw like the vaccinated in Europe. Like I'm not sure now still, but last year in France, for example, my friend went to France. So if you are vaccinated, if you are not vaccinated, you cannot go to cinema, you cannot go to cafe, you cannot. Okay, so you have freedom of choice to not get vaccinated, but you cannot complain about other things.
Yeah.
In the end, we live in a society under rules and things, which I'm a person, I don't believe in any of the rules because the rules, they were put by someone to serve their goals.
Yeah.
any rules, any community, any rules. You know what I mean? So the only rules works for me are the logic and the sense ones. You know what I mean? But the point is, like, you live in a society that is ruled by a group of people that sees what's best for everyone. When are contributing in this society and community, benefits or not benefits or whatever, you need to do whatever it goes, you know what I mean? So you don't want to get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated, but don't get upset if they say you cannot go to have a dinner in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Like even here in Bangkok, like recently the gym I go to, like if you are not vaccinated, you are not allowed to get in. You know, many people might find it extreme, but I mean, it is kind of, but like we are in special times, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like now, if we compare it with like a year ago was way more terrible than now.
Yeah. It was pretty intense, wasn't it?
Yeah. I still remember first lockdown, man. It wasn't a good experience.
It was a pretty messed up experience, yeah.
It was rough.
Okay, so I think we've come to the end of the podcast. Final words by you, and can I zoom in to you for this? Make it as awkward as possible. No, that's okay. Don't worry about it. But I mean, I can't. Check this out. We could totally do this, like, you know, like that.
Am I a bit scared?
No, I'm joking. I'm not gonna do it.
I mean, last words I can say, like.
Not last words, dude. We need you. Like, I'm talking about final words
Okay.
for the podcast.
Final words for the podcast. Well, I'm gonna say, okay, like I need to mention what's happening in Ukraine is terrible and it's still happening. And I hope all the world, like, I hope this is finished soon. They are being really brave. They are fighting back. They are doing their part, and the world is standing with them and everything. And what I wish that the people reacting to other things happening in the world the exact same way they are reacting to Ukraine, because I'm not making it less. Ukraine, they are having terrible things, but it's been for 19 years. There are countries like Syria, it's been for 10 years.
19 days, you said.
Yeah, 19
You said
days.
19 years.
19 days. Syria, it's been for 10 years. Iraq since 2002. Yemen, it's been since 2012 or 13. And Saudi Arabia and Emirates are rocketing them with the USA. People dying because of hunger in Somalia, Mozambique, Ethiopia, Mali, the French army, Libya, all of these places. In South America, you have Colombia, Venezuela, you have Bosnia and Herzegovina. You have many places are suffering. You have in China the Uyghurs. So you have all these places, but like the only place that got all this action and this sympathy was Ukraine, which is good for Ukrainians, but this shows a really big hole in our humanity, which is it's really painful and unacceptable. Doesn't matter what's your race, doesn't matter where you're from. You have to stand with everyone. If you want to say like I don't have background, I don't know what's happening, it's simply you can just educate yourself. I hope everything finished soon in Ukraine and all problems be solved. Yeah, that's it. Just like don't be a hypocrite. Yeah, and media. I lost my faith in media anyway in general, like media and TV.
Do you trust this kind of media?
No, I'm not sure about that. I mean, yeah.
No.
That's it.
Sorry, this guy's my friend. That's why I showed him the finger, but that was completely unprofessional.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys for watching. And thank you, Mo, for coming. This was absolutely something I've been wanting to do for 2 years now. Holy shit.
You're really annoying.
Yeah, I know.
You're really not
But I did finally I had to move a city to actually get Mo to be on my podcast. I moved the freaking city, so he is that important.
Welcome to Bangkok.
Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys got some knowledge out of this great guy, out of this conversation about the reality of things. I know I did gain more information than I had when I started. But yeah, please share this video, watch it as much as you can, share it with your friends. It is as real as it gets in this channel, at least we try to make it as real as possible. What?
That's what you say.
But yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much for your time, and love you all. Thank you, Mo, and
Cheers, man.
we'll see you guys in the next time. Cheers.